Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Fatso Radio. This episode of Fatso Radio and every episode of Fatso Radio is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. Folks, check them out at volpemartialarts.com. Let me say that again. volpemartialarts.com. That's my brother, folks. Sifu Adam Volpe brings you his lifelong passion, lifelong skill, lifelong commitment to the sport, to the martial art, to the art itself. Hapkido, the Korean style. Kung Fu, a Chinese style. Excuse me. Amazing fusion, folks. Sifu Adam, my brother, brings it to you. Check it out, volpemartialarts.com. Folks, today I talk about more COVID things, but not necessarily just COVID, just around the vaccines, maybe some misconceptions about the vaccines, maybe some misconceptions about people that don't want to take the vaccine, and maybe why they don't want to take it, and maybe talking about the fact that maybe they can have a reason not to take it. Like we should have a reason not to do many things in life. Talking about the dangers and what have you. Thanks for listens. Thanks for your likes, your shares, your comments, your posts. Thank you for sharing. And I do encourage you, please share the word. It's not just about vaccines I talk about fat, I talk about weight loss, talk about everything. But this episode, mostly about the mandates. It's a big thing, folks. I'm a big proponent of freedom. I'm a big fighter of freedom in my own little way. Yes, I'm not saying that I'm on the battlefield, but this is some sort of a war we're having potentially. I don't know. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy, for your love. I love you all. Lily, take it away. Fatso Radio. Fatso,
the really great podcast show.
Fatso, a very first podcast show.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to Fatso Radio. How you doing? My name is Carlo Volpe, and it is my pleasure to come to you each and every Friday night. And tonight, no different, folks. September 24th. Welcome to the end of September. Welcome to the preparation for the beginning of October. Is that what I'm trying to say? That's what I'm trying to say. Folks, thank you for tuning into Fatso Radio. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your listens. And if you haven't shared, or if you haven't liked, or if you haven't even seen an episode or listened to an episode before, welcome to Fatso Radio. My name is Carlo Volpe. It's my pleasure to come to you, like I said, each and every Friday. Folks, I talk to you about diet, I talk to you about nutrition, I talk to you about my opinions. It's mostly my opinions. Some of it's facts, some of it's stuff I've read, and some of it's stuff I've learned, but a lot of it is stuff that I just feel from my heart. And I feel not just from my heart, but from my brain and my mind, and what I've learned and what I've put two and two together. And the idea and the ability to think critically is important. And I'm not the only one who thinks critically. There's millions and billions of people all over the world that do that. So I'm not alone. Folks, this episode of Fatso Radio is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. This episode and every episode is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. Volpe Martial Arts is my brother's Kung Fu and Hapkido martial arts school. Sifu Adam Volpe, that's my brother, brings you his lifelong passion, lifelong expertise, and just love of martial arts and love of community and love of family right to your door. Actually, to his door. Check it out, volpemartialarts.com. Folks, I want to talk about something that's, of course, is controversial. I talk about a lot of things that are controversial. It's going to be diet related sometimes not diet related. Of course, COVID's on everybody's mind. Of course, the vaccines are on everybody's mind. And the opinions about it, the feelings about it, the fear about it. There's so much fear around, and I'm not for a second going to tell you that I'm not afraid. I'm not going to tell you I'm not afraid. I know I've gone to this point in my life, and I am not afraid to be afraid, and I'm not afraid to tell you I'm going to be afraid, but I don't think that fear is controlling my actions. I hope fear is not controlling my actions. In fact, I am trying to fight oppression, and I'm trying to fight the lack or losing of our freedoms, and it is scary. So there's a lot of fear in that. It's not, the fear that I have is not necessarily about even COVID. I'm not necessarily afraid of even COVID. I'm not to say I'm afraid of the vaccines or not, but I kind of feel the same about them. In fact, I actually trust myself to fight COVID a little bit more than I trust the vaccine, not because I think there's an ulterior motive, not because I think the vaccines are meant to kill people, not at all. I just don't like medicines in general, and this falls into it for me. It's one of the many reasons why I have questions about it, and I have contemplations about it, and I'm going to keep on questioning about it. So today I want to talk about basically five questions that I get all the time, and it's the questions that sometimes they're good questions because I understand why people have these questions to me, and I understand why there's questions that are going to be built off of this and questions that come before these questions. And hopefully my answers will explain at least my perspective, right? Or at least for these five questions. Like I said, it's it's so complex these days. There's so many different layers of why people are doing what they're doing, why they think why the way they think, why they're choosing the way they're choosing. It's not cut and dry, right? And hopefully after these 5 issues or 5 points I want to talk about, we'll get some conversation going on, or let me know what you think. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why you think I'm wrong. Hopefully I'll unpack it and we can unpack it even more, and we can get into this, because it is about dialogue. It's about community. It's about conversation. It's about communication. So the first thing I want to talk about is the common comment I get, or a common feeling I get, or a common comment I read online, or a common idea and feeling that people get when they're talking about COVID, or when they're reading stuff that people feel like, or sorry, when they're reading stuff, when they're reading articles or reading just comments from people who are trying to voice their opinion on their own choice, right? On their own reasons for not taking the vaccine, or taking the vaccine, or feeling like they do, or they have an idea, you know, or have an opinion about COVID, or not have an opinion of COVID. It's okay. So one of the most common things I get is, you're not a doctor, so why are you giving anybody medical advice? This is a good one. This is a good one. So anybody who's ever listened to anything I've ever said, I hope you've listened, or hope you've watched long enough in the episode to hear the point where I say every single episode, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. And this is no different. If I say that I'm against forced vaccinations, right? If I say I'm against vaccine mandates, that doesn't mean I'm trying to be a doctor. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying anything about the vaccine when I say that statement. What I'm saying is, I don't want it to be forced upon anybody. If it's good, great. And I do believe that it's helping. I don't not believe that it's helping people. I believe it's helping people. I believe that many medicines help people. I believe that many things help people. Many practices, exercises, or many modalities, right? Many techniques and routines can help people. So I'm not a doctor, and I know that. And I'm not saying that. So I'm not trying to fight. I'm not trying to fight with the medical on this point. I'm trying to fight for the freedoms to seek whatever medical advice you want. And that's the whole point. My point is to say, there are doctors out there, many doctors out there that are not following with this, or are at least questioning this. And I think people should have the choice to trust their doctor, the same doctor that they've been told to trust all their life. Yes, I'm also someone who's going to be critical of doctors and critical of advice. But at the same time, if we're saying talk to your doctor, at this time now, we're not saying talk to your doctor, right? Because what if you have a doctor who is questioning that doctor's being silenced? If you have a doctor that's saying, hey, maybe it's not right for everybody, there's countless information or articles or labels online, especially Facebook is the best for it, because if you put anything online or anything regardless, or even close to Facebook or close to COVID, you'll get a COVID label. You can have a doctor, a PhD biochemist, which I've seen, by a PhD microbiologist, which I've seen, virologist, which I've seen online, speaking their truth, speaking the information that they know from their experience, from their knowledge, from their education, and that's being silenced, that's being oppressed, that's being canceled. And that is the message that's not getting out. And that's the message that's important, because I'm not saying it. I'm not a doctor, I'm not saying it, but I'm pointing to you to this doctor or other hundreds of doctors. And those doctors are getting discredited. Why? Because they're not part of the grand group of doctors. So as to say, you can never go against the grain. You could never swim upstream, which is also the first time in my whole life I've heard the masses say that. I've always heard the masses say, it's good to go against stream. That's good to push the envelope. It's good to test the boundaries. It's good to explore, to see. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. But not this time, right? It doesn't make sense, folks. I'm not saying I'm a doctor, but I'm saying talk to a doctor, right? And just because I'm not a doctor, it doesn't mean I can't fight for my choice. Every other choice we make, pro-choice, when it comes to abortion, that's all about pre-choice, right? Or that's all about pro-choice. That's all about individual rights. It's all about, but now it's not about choice. Now this different idea. Now my opinion doesn't matter. So do I need a doctor's opinion when it comes to that kind of pro-choice? No, I just need my own opinion, my sovereign right, because my body. But now it's not. Now there's more involved in that, and there's more layers, and I'm going to talk about those more layers here. So that's my first point. My first point is I often hear that, well, you're not a doctor. You're not a doctor. So what? So what? I'm not a doctor. Are you telling me that I have to be a doctor to realize the difference between junk food and healthy food? No, you don't have to be a doctor. Do I have to be a doctor to realize between the difference, to realize the difference between just a generally healthy person and not a healthy person, right? Not just by looks, but generally you can tell if somebody's healthy. If you can walk a couple flight of stairs and not be winded, if you can get to the car and back or do whatever around, pick up a load of groceries, and you're probably in okay sort of health. But if you're, and that's a terrible example because there's a huge spectrum, but to one side of it, if you're sedentary and if you're obese and you have 3 or 4 comorbidities, yes, you're going to be more sick than you're not. And if you don't have any comorbidities, if you don't have diabetes, if you don't have heart disease, if you're not obese, if you're, if you get regular exercise, like, I'm not a doctor, but you don't have to be a doctor to realize that's factual. That's reality. That's real life, right? So it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts when people say that, you're not a doctor. You're not. I know I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, right? At the same time, if I'm promoting that I'm going to go for a walk today, I'm going to go for a run today, and you can do it as well, or you can say you're not a personal trainer. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is the time when everybody is so focused on credentials, but only if you're part of the group of credentialed people that are also falling in line, right? So it's getting picked apart more and more as time goes on. If you're not a researcher, yeah, okay, you're not a researcher. You're not a scientist, okay, yeah, you're not a scientist. I'm gonna talk about that as well later. Number 2, a common thing I hear is, this is just another vaccine. We need to get all the other vaccines when we were kids. Just go along. We needed a passport. We needed a vaccine passport when we were kids to travel and things like that. So why don't we just do it again? There's a lot of problems with that. First of all, the vaccines that we needed to travel or what have you, right? Those are vaccines that are like kind of one and done, or maybe 2 and done. It's not something you're going to need every 6 months. And not only that, those are vaccines that worked and worked strongly at either eradicating diseases or really suppressing diseases, so much so that it's virtually gone, right? Those were also vaccines for things that were less transmissible, right? So diseases that you couldn't catch as bad. These diseases, or this type of disease, COVID or other type of respiratory diseases, you can catch, and they are very transmissible. And that's why we've never been able to successfully create a vaccine for respiratory diseases in the past. We haven't been able to create one for SARS-1, right? So this one is not a vaccine. It is something different. So when someone says to you, this is just like all the other vaccines we've had before, this is not like all the other vaccines before. And this is another part, is that another point that comes into play here is that if you're against taking this vaccine just for you or just for your family, you're an anti-vaxxer. And that's bullshit. I'm sorry. That's bullshit. And it's not fair to people, because you could have taken every other vaccine before this. I'm not anti-vax, right? But this one, all of a sudden you're anti-vax. So there's 2 sides to that, right? You can have the argument that this is not a vaccine. This is something else. So, okay, maybe I'm anti-booster or whatever you want to call it. But the other argument is that just because I'm against one vaccine, even if you want to call this a vaccine, which sure, call it a vaccine, it doesn't mean I'm anti-vax. I'm not even anti anything. I don't want this. I can be even for this for you. I can be for this for my friends or for other people who I think maybe are at high risk, or maybe who not only at high risk, but a high risk at infecting, high risk at being around other people that are high risk. I don't know. There's a lot of weird science with that too. And let's talk about that. But you should not be ostracized, right? You should not be, I don't think you should be ostracized about this, because quite honestly, if you don't get the other vaccines, you're not ostracized. People may think you're crazy behind closed doors, and that's their problem. But the government hasn't officially ostracized you, right? And the government isn't encouraging other people to ostracize you. So this is not right. This is not right. And this is not just like the other vaccines. It's not a vaccine. Again, I'm not a doctor, but doctors have said it's not a vaccine. Virologists have said it's not a vaccine. The person who invented the PCR test, that everybody talks about, the PCR test being the test, that doctor said the PCR test is not important or is not valid for this at certain levels that they're using it at. So there's many things around this, and you don't have to be anti-vax, right? And you shouldn't be, no one should be labeled anti-vax just because they don't want to take anything. Right? Okay. The other thing, so one more thing about this. This would be the only vaccine, the first vaccine where the government and the companies that manufactured these vaccines are not liable for any harm, any death, any injuries from this. Like, I want to break that down for a second because the implications of that blow my mind. They blow my mind because on face value, it's crazy. No one can sue the companies. No one can sue the government. There's not even just suing because it's not about money. There's no repercussions. There's no justice. That's the bottom line, folks. There's no justice if the government is wrong. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to think or to be able to hypothesize the scenario where the government can be wrong. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to think that. You just have to be able to imagine what it's like. What is it like when the government makes a mistake? Okay, well, the government has made millions of mistakes in the past, but they've also made millions of good decisions, right? Okay, so because they have the ability to make a mistake, this may be one of them. And because this may be one of those times, you shouldn't mandate it, right? That's not to say that you shouldn't take the vaccine. That's not to say that this vaccine is bad or dangerous or deadly. That's not to say that. That's not the same. We're saying you shouldn't force it because it's not been proven to be 100% safe and or not 100% effective, but effective enough to outweigh the safety issues, right? And to outweigh the possibility that your own system may not work as well. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, but they should not mandate something that is so new and it is so relatively it's not untested anymore because it's been tested on all the population. But there's enough feedback to show that regardless of the feedback, it's not like every other vaccine. That's what I'm talking about, that point. Number 3 here, if you want respect for the unvaccinated, you should also show respect for the vaccinated. Okay, and vice versa. So I get that. And that comment usually comes up, and that question usually comes up when I say, hey, it's just about respect. Can't you just respect my choice? Okay, I get that. And so on the other hand side of it, right, people are saying, well, why don't you respect me? If I'm expected to respect your choice, why don't you respect the vaccinated person? So, and I can only go with a couple of things I'm assuming when people say when they mean that. I think on one hand, they're saying, if I'm going to respect you to not take the choice, what about you respecting me for my safety and my security from this virus? Okay, so we just can't want and expect freedom, right? So I get that. Like, what I'm saying when I'm fighting freedom, what I say that when I'm encouraging freedom is because I want freedom with freedom without conditions, right? So if people say, well, why don't you just respect us and respect everybody else and take the shot? There's one argument, right? Okay, I understand that, but you're not addressing the freedom element. You're not addressing the freedom element because many people are taking the shots, even if they're against it, but they're taking it. What's happening to our freedom? Our freedom is being eroded by this. So that's a point. Number 2, the government's actually assaulting our rights. The government's not assaulting your rights. The government's not, actually they are assaulting your rights, but if you don't seem to care that they're assaulting your rights, it doesn't change the fact that they are assaulting your rights. So why do the vaccinated people not require a group to support them and a support group or a lobby group? I'll tell you why. Because you have the government supporting you. You have the government who is pushing the mandates or pushing the vaccines and who are mandating the vaccines. So you don't like I actually don't think that the argument is that we're disrespecting you at all. I think that the bigger picture is that the government is disrespecting all of us, and the people that are fighting for it. It's sad to me that we're getting resistance from people, right? We should be getting resistance from the government, and we're not. We're getting resistance from people because the government has convinced people that we're wrong and we're the dangerous ones. So it really bothers me. It's not, in my opinion, it's not about respect for other people. Respect for other people comes with freedom, right? And freedom is not always free. There's always situations where in life where you have to respect other people and you work with other people and you live with other people, and it's this fear that's made other people, now I think it's this fear that made people reevaluate things and to look at things like now this, you're not respecting me if you do this, so, or if you don't do this. So I don't know. Also, the other thing is that there's plenty of doctors out there, doctors and researchers against this. So where's their respect? right? Where's the respect for their education? Where's the respect for their knowledge and their time in the trenches? There are doctors that have 30 years of experience, doctors, nurses, RTs, everybody out there that have all this experience, and they're speaking up. Sure, maybe it's not the majority. The majority will never speak up, folks. The majority will never be the ones crying. The majority will never be the ones screaming loud, because the majority are going to believe the government. And that's how things happen. That's how bad things happen. That's how governments progress to more tyrannical governments, is because the majority do follow along. Hey, listen, if the majority naturally thought this, they wouldn't have a leg to stand on. But we have been coddled, right? We've been brainwashed, some of us, not all of us. I've been brainwashed in certain aspects. You've been brainwashed in certain aspects. But my point on that is, where is the respect for the doctors and researchers that are putting their life on the line, their careers on the line? And don't tell me there's not. Don't say, where are they? Look for them. If you see something that I post or somebody posts and automatically you dismiss it because the picture is grainy and it's from some small court in Iowa or in somewhere else in North Carolina, and this dad is standing up there and he's speaking, and who gives a shit because it's just some dad, and they say, no, I'll give a shit, because this dad has vital information. This researcher has vital information. These PhDs, these doctors, or whatever they are, give them the respect that they deserve. Like, I don't understand. You know, they're called crazy in their own field, and by amateurs. So you can call me an amateur and say I'm not a doctor, I'm not a researcher, so my thoughts are invalid, and I got issues about that. But when you're also saying that about doctors and researchers who you've now just compared me to them, in the idea and the inference that you're only going to take their advice, you're only going to take their opinion, well, then you can't also shit on them, because then your argument is shit. And if your argument is going to fall apart there, then you should see the beginning of the end for that argument. That's number 3. Number 4, it's the unvaccinated that are causing the issue. So I would have a real problem with that, of course, because I don't think it's the unvaccinated that's causing the issue. If it's a virus that's causing the issue. If it's a virus that's causing government to lock down, and lockdowns are causing the issue, it's the government, it's the lockdown that's causing the issue. I think it would be the virus causing the issue if you saw people on the streets. And it doesn't mean that I'm trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that I want to see that by any means. Lord help me, no. Never would want that. But what I'm saying is that it's not a problem with the vaccinated, unvaccinated, and I'll tell you why. Number 1, if the vaccines worked, right, they would protect you enough so that the unvaccinated people, it should protect you enough. That's just it, right? Are the vaccines protecting us enough? That's my question. What is it doing? Are the vaccines protecting people, and or is it hurting your own immunity? I don't know. If this vaccine helps you, and it's supposed to help you so better off than if you didn't have it at all, I don't know. Maybe I just have questions and no answers. But the second point is that if the unvaccinated are not sick or are asymptomatic, that's the problem I have too. Because oftentimes people say, is the unvaccinated people, they can get us vaccinated people sick because you can be asymptomatic and still spread it as an unvaccinated person. Okay, this is a good one. I'm gonna get a drink for this. If you're vaccinated and I'm not vaccinated, okay? You being vaccinated, your level of protection should be higher, right? Okay, but that's not necessarily the case. It never gets talked about, but that's not necessarily the case. It depends on you. It depends on you, your individual body, your individual immune system, your individual health. How healthy are you right now? How healthy are you at the time that you get the vaccines? How healthy, more importantly, are you at the time that you get infected with COVID? That's the bottom line, right? So oftentimes people that are unvaccinated say, 2 arguments. The unvaccinated are causing the issue because it's the unvaccinated people that are getting sick and they're spreading it. Okay, I have 2 problems with that. Number 1, if unvaccinated people are getting sick and they have a higher risk of getting sick, higher risk of being more symptomatic, higher risk of being hospitalized, and higher risk of dying, then they would also be sicker. And they would also want to leave their house less. They would also spread it less, right? And they would also not go out as much because they're unvaccinated. So follow me here. Vaccinated people, double vaccinated, triple vaccinated, whatever, you can have 50 vaccines at this point. It seems like the same thing. But if you're vaccinated, it may lower your symptoms, right? It may lower your risk of hospitalization, may lower your risk of death, but it's not going to lower your confidence. So you're going to go out there and you're going to spread, possibly, if you're vaccinated, from what I've read, you will be possibly even less symptomatic than someone who's not, being at the same viral load, which means that you may be just as sick as me, but because you have the vaccine, you may not show symptoms, right? So if you're not showing symptoms, but you can still spread it, you're going to go out and you're going to act maybe with more confidence. And I think that's a greater argument against. It's enough of an argument to actually go against being vaccinated, but it's at least the argument to say the unvaccinated are not more of a risk. Because if someone is unvaccinated and we're not sick, that's what I want to talk about now. If I'm unvaccinated and I'm asymptomatic, if I'm COVID positive, but I'm asymptomatic, that means I have a less chance of transmitting it, right? But why is it do I have a less chance of transmitting it? The reason I have a less chance of transmitting it is because that means my body's doing its job. That means that I'm fighting it and I'm going to be less transmissible, right? My disease will be less transmissible, my illness, because I'll be less symptomatic. Symptoms of how you spread it, sneezing, coughing, runny nose, or whatever it is, right? That's how you spread it. So I think I have a less chance. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. Please tell me. fatsoradio@gmail.com. Number 5. I hope this is number 5. Yes, number 5. I often hear people say, well, freedom is nice, but what about the people you put in jeopardy? Okay. So, and I think I talked about this a little bit earlier, but basically it's the idea that your freedom is good, but to what limit? Your freedom is only valid for you until you infringe on my freedoms and until you infringe on my security and my health and all that. And I get that. I'm 100% for that. And that's why I believe in autonomy to do your own thing. And as long as you're, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, do your own thing. That's why I feel the same way about drugs and about alcohol and bad food. You can do, I believe, truly believe that you should have the autonomy to do whatever you want. Free will, do whatever you want to do. Okay. But we live in a day now where you're in contact with people all the time, and normally you're in contact with people all the time with dangerous situations all the time. I don't get it, right? Where your children are at work, or you're driving to school, you're on the highway going 100 kilometers an hour, or what, 60, 70 miles an hour, whatever it is, and you're driving $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 vehicles that could kill many people all the time. And we do this every single day. We cross the road. We do all these things. Yes, people want to say the argument about seatbelts. Yes, there's seatbelt laws. Yes, people fought it. Yes, those people were idiots. And yes, you get a fine if you don't get a seatbelt. Sure, they mandated it. They didn't come around and strap the seatbelt to your body permanently. They didn't inject seatbelt juice into your arm to forever change, not forever change. That's not where I'm going. To ever violate your privacy. It's your sovereignty over your body. We're talking about states trying to find sovereignty. We're talking about provinces trying to separate all this thing. Your personal sovereignty, your body, your mind, your consciousness, right? That's what's at stake. It's not this one vaccine. It's not this one particular virus or pandemic. We've been told by the experts there's more pandemics to come. That's not conspiracy. We've been told. We've been told the next one's going to be worse. Okay, we're going to be on vaccines forever and ever and ever. That's not the way I want to live my life. That's not the way I want to continue being a human. I don't want to continue being a human relying on medicine, relying on booster shots, especially when there's a lot of things in medicine that I don't necessarily agree with. I'm not pushing those ideas. I'm not a doctor. I'm not shitting on anything officially. I can have my own opinion. And that goes back to the idea of freedom, right? So I just don't understand why people are so easily or so reluctant to give up freedom. I guess I do understand it, right? It is about fear, and it is about fear. It's about fear, and everybody has fear. I think that if you're trying to say that you're not afraid, I think that you're lying to yourself. I think that it's fear that is misplaced oftentimes. I think that it's fear that we don't know where to find the solution. We don't know where to find the answer to that fear. And I get that, right? Families for that. Friends are for that. Church, your temple, your synagogue, your mosque, that's what it's for. We're fighting fear. We're fighting fear, right? I'm not fighting a vaccine. I'm fighting everything that comes with us not being able to say no. That's what it is, folks. Like, I might not have been the person that would fight if they would have mandated something else. I might not have if I actually thought the mandate overall life would be good. And if that mandate wasn't going to, or at least if that mandate wasn't putting us in a position where we're in jeopardy of losing much, much more. And it is like, when else in history have you had to disclose your medical information when you apply for a job? When else in history have you had to disclose that why you've made a medical choice? So not only when I apply for a job and I have an interview, I have to tell them now whether I'm vaccinated or not, because they're asking. And you may say, oh my God, that's against human rights. That's against labor law to ask. The government has told them it's not against the rights. If the government has told them it's okay to ask people whatever the hell they want now, because they're in a pandemic, because we're in a pandemic. Again, a pandemic where they're acting like bodies are on the street. The policies look like bodies should be on the street by the policies, by the reaction of the policies, but they're not, okay? So that's what we're fighting for. The last thing I want to say, this slide number 5.5, I guess, is a little bit around the whole doctor idea, but the idea I get oftentimes, or not often, actually, not often, but a couple times a day or a couple times a week, I get, are you a scientist? It's almost like the doctor thing, right? But this is more for me. This bothers me more. First of all, for a doctor, you should be your own doctor. Yes, you should go to a doctor when you have a question that you can't answer yourself, which may be all the time for you. That's okay. But if you think you can answer some questions by yourself, and you have a track record of being able to do that, and talk to your doctor for more advice. Absolutely, absolutely. And you should do that. But the thing I get about, are you a scientist? Are you a researcher? My goodness, why have we gotten to a point in life, in this world right now? I think I know the answer, but why have we gotten to a point, or how did we get to a point now where only something that has, it's a double-edged sword. And this is, I want to point out, it's a hypocrisy. It's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, people are saying, do this, my screen's falling down. People are saying, do this, do that. Are you a scientist? Are you are not a scientist, but listen to the facts, right? Okay, I'm back. My screen just fell out. But people are saying oftentimes, like, you're not a scientist, you're not a researcher. Okay, here I go. If you're a scientist, well, let me finish off with this. Why is it non-science? Why can I only be a scientist to be scientific? Why can I only be a researcher? I'm quoting there for whoever's listening to me on the podcast. Why can I only be a, quote, researcher, quote, if I'm officially a researcher? Like, if you're a scientist, or sorry, if you're a researcher, what does it mean to be a researcher? Does it mean that you research? Yeah. Does it mean that you find information, you're looking for information, looking for sources, making sure they're valid sources? Sure. You could do that for a living and you're a researcher. You can do that once in a while and be a researcher. You can be a researcher on something specific, something for you, something in a short time period. The word research doesn't mean you have to be a 35-year expert on research. You don't have to have published 65 papers and be in peer. That doesn't mean you don't have to be a researcher like that to research. My goodness. And why have we come to a point right now where only these certain credentials matter, right? And in fact, at the same time, these certain credentials that only seem to matter are the same people. What I'm trying to say is people that oftentimes say, where are your credentials? At the same time, they're dismissing and canceling or trying to cancel the people who do have credentials, but now their message is wrong. So the goalpost gets moved oftentimes, right? So if you're not a researcher, you can't say this. If you're not a scientist, don't say this. Oh my God, you are a researcher? Wow, you're a crazy researcher. You're a scientist? You're a crazy scientist. Most of them don't say that. Okay, well, most of them don't say a lot of shit, right? Most people don't discover penicillin. Most people don't discover that ivermectin saves people. It's an antibacterial, antiviral, antiparasitic. But the guy who invented, or the guy who isolated and found ivermectin got a Nobel Prize for it. But no, the guy who does that, if there's a video online about it, that gets dismissed, that gets wiped out, because it's also used for horses. It's also used for veterinary medicine. Well, if anybody worth their salt in medicine or science or research looked into this, they'd realize there's a shitload of medicine that animals use that we use, okay? So that's another thing that people just like to shit on, add on to it, and then keep on talking about their argument like they just proved you wrong when they didn't, right? Oh my God, you're gonna take horse medicine like Joe Rogan and get over COVID after 4 days and he was vaccinated? Like, there's so much wrong with that. Not so much wrong, but there's so many layers to that. He took ivermectin and a bunch of other things and got better in 4 days. Okay, great. He was also vaccinated, so maybe that lessened his symptoms too. Okay, great. I don't know the answer to it, but it doesn't mean that we should shit on it because you're not a scientist. I want to end on this. If you're saying, if you're not a scientist, don't talk on science, then I don't think you're a scientist, because I think a scientist, a real scientist, has the awareness to realize that science isn't just performed in a lab. Science isn't only done by someone with their master's degree. A scientist, a natural scientist, and any kind of scientist who really truly believes in science and the ability to learn and how science works, anybody who's a scientist knows that it's not limited to a select group of people who can only learn this knowledge, who could only understand this knowledge. It's not magic, folks. That's not what it's about. Science is science. You should be able to explain it to a 5-year-old. If you can't explain it to a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old, and it's not science, it's just narrative. It's a story, right? If you're trying to just expect people to believe a story, that's one thing. But if you're trying to expect people to learn and have an understanding and then have a like-mindedness, then you have to do a lot better than just making up bullshit stories. So that's what I gotta say, folks. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for your likes. A little technical difficulty we got to take care of, my little green screen. I love you all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your watches. I guess I also want to finish on the idea that I do respect everybody and I do love everybody and I want the best for everybody. I want people that are vaccinated to be healthy. I want people that are vaccinated to feel healthy as well and to feel safe about that. I want them to feel safe in society, but I don't think that them feeling safe in society is the most important thing. I think having a safe society is the most important thing. And I think having a free society is important, because if you're not free, then what is, like, I mean, it's a cliche, but what's life living? What's life worth if you're not living that life? And if you're not free, you're not really living that life. So I get it. I get that the unvaccinated people are afraid as well. I get that. So I get everybody's afraid. I get everybody's worried. No one's really sure what to do. But I really want to push the idea that I'm not. I hope you don't think I'm anti-love. I don't hope you don't think I'm anti-hate or anti-love, or I hope you don't think I'm pushing hate when I'm saying choice. I can't. I don't know any other way to say it other than I want you to make your choice too. If you've already made your choice, good. Right? If your choice was easy to make because you happen to agree with the mandate, consider yourself lucky. Really, consider yourself lucky, because this time you didn't disagree with them. Right? If they mandated penicillin every time something happened that was life-threatening, or I would be okay with that, because penicillin works. It's been around for a long, long time. Right? It's not brand new. It didn't get under emergency use and then kind of get rushed into authorization. There's not groups of people fighting penicillin, but you can choose not to take penicillin. You could die because you didn't choose to take penicillin. You could die and possibly infect other people, and maybe they could die because you didn't take penicillin. Penicillin is probably a hard one because it's probably bacterial. But anyway, right? You can not choose to do a lot of procedures that you may die from, or on the other hand, do procedures that are risky, but that may save your life. And there's no mandates on that stuff, right? And I don't think there should be mandates on this either. The other thing is that mandates aren't going to get us out of this. If there's 70% vaccination rate, 80% vaccination rate, even maybe 90% vaccination rate, I think Israel has an 80% vaccination rate. And I'm not going to shit on them because shit happens in these outbreaks and all that stuff, but what's the end game? 100% vaccination rate shouldn't be the goal. It won't be the goal. I'm not getting vaccinated, and I'm not the only one, right? And I'm not saying I'm better because I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm not saying I'm worse because I'm not getting vaccinated. It's just my choice. And I hate the fact that this choice is making me stand out. I do a lot of other crazy shit. I have a lot of other crazy ideas, and I don't think this is a crazy idea. Like I said, I cannot do any other treatment for any other disease I have, pretty much any other disease you have, and it's okay. And for this, it's like, it's the guilt. It's a neighbor against neighbor. It's the, I don't understand. The other thing, I guess, then on this is, like, we have so many examples in history on where oppression and control led to bad things. And I've never seen an example where oppression and control has led to anything good. And it doesn't seem like this is leading to anywhere good. So I'm going to keep on fighting. And one more thing, maybe this episode will go on forever, but the other thing that people often say, or sometimes it gets under my skin when people say, is that they compare things that are not comparable or that we're not comparing. Perfect example, memes online saying, oh, people that are fighting against this vax act like they're fighting in a war, act like they're soldiers. And there's a picture of like World War II or some tragic events where actual soldiers actually gave their life. Okay. And then they say, oh, this is what the anti-vaxxers think they are. These tough guys, right? These war heroes who actually were heroes. And then they say how other people see them. So they anti-vaxxers, which we're not anti-vaxxers, but I guess if you're anti-COVID vax, you're an anti-vaxxer. The anti-vaxxers see themselves as these heroes. Other people see themselves as just babies crying. There's a picture of a baby, diapers crying, and then I think how the world sees them. Or in reality, they're just on their keyboard typing. Well, that's funny because a lot of people completely fit in that scenario, and I can completely fit in that scenario from day to day, of course, right? Maybe some days I'll say something to make me sound like a real asshole. They make me sound like, hey, you're acting like you actually went to war and you're not. Okay, I'm never going to say that this is the same kind of war where you take bullets, the same kind of war where you have your life on the line. But this is a different kind of war. This is a war. Often there's people that are saying this is World War III. Because it doesn't have to be a bullet shot at all. There are people fighting. There are friends fighting. There are people losing relationships of 10 and 20 and 30 years. And if you're not losing a relationship, your relationship's probably taxed if you know someone who doesn't agree with you. And if it's not taxed, you guys are extra tolerant. And for my friends who've been extra tolerant, thank you. I love you. For my family who've been extra tolerant, thank you. I love you. And I love you as well. And I've been tolerant to you as well. It's not, I hope you don't see it as I'm the only kind of, I know you don't see I'm the only crazy guy, but I hope you don't think that like just a couple of crazy people out there that are just so lost, right? And I don't think there's a chance that we could be such a small minority and that we're alone. And I guess that's the bottom line. I want to end on that. Maybe we're not alone. You're not alone. If you think for a second, holy shit, this lockdown is crazy. It feels like my boss is against me. It feels like the government is against me. It feels like the media is against me. You're not alone. You're not alone. There are many, many people like me, many people like you, if you're like this. And there are many people on the fence as well. So you're not alone. Please know that. And just know that I'm here and everybody's here to help you. And we love you. Share the love. Email me. Let me know. Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is. fatsoradio@gmail.com. I love everybody. I respect everybody's choice. I respect everybody's perspective. I think I know where you're coming from. Even if I don't agree with you, I know because I've been listening. And the place you're coming from is a place of love as well. Just like my place is a place of love. I also think that your place is coming from a place of fear. Just like my place is oftentimes coming from a place of fear. So I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. And I hope you don't think I'm wrong. I think that it's a matter of perspective. And I know that people oftentimes don't move unless they're pushed, right? Whether you push yourself or whether the outside world pushes you, I don't know. But I don't know. Wish everybody the best. I love you all. Have a great Friday night. Peace. Fatso Radio. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Let's say bye to everybody. Bye. And we'll say thanks for listening. Say thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
So get your butt and get in your chair.
Don't eat your nails and don't pull your hair.
We'll talk about chicken or talk about steak.
We'll talk about fat, for goodness sake.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, a very first podcast show.